Konoha outskirts. About a half a mile outside of Konoha, there was an Anbu team doing patrol. It was a regular mission and they seemed calm, as the patrol mission was very rarely presented any trouble at all. Although they seemed calm on the outside, all the Anbu personnel were warned about the incoming invasion, and as such they were all on high alert. They just didn't know it. Suddenly an Anbu said team stopped and looked around. "Sense anything?" another Anbu asked. "No, Captain." The Anbu that stopped replied while replying another thing to its team leader using the Anbu sign language. "Possible shinobi group," the Anbu said, and the leader nodded. The Anbu quickly and stealthily approached the encampment and say 8 sand shinobi feathered in a circle. In the middle of the circle was kanji spread through it and stopping just near each of the sand shinobi's feet. Each of the sand shinobis had a small scroll in their mouths and were going through hand seals very slowly. From the looks of it, the technique seemed awfully complicated, and it seemed we must not get it wrong. "Looks like a summoning ring," one Anbu said to their captain. "Yes, we can't allow them to summon anything. Get in your positions," the captain ordered. "I can't allow that," a voice suddenly said behind them. They all turned around and saw a man. He had auburn hair, dark eyes. He wore a simple black jacket and pants with mesh armor underneath. He carried a small canister strapped to his hip. It was none other than the 4th Kazekage himself. Suddenly, what appeared to be sand started flowing out of his canister, and quickly and swiftly, it wrapped around all 4 Anbu, crushing them to death. "Let's get this over with," the Kazekage commanded. Stadium crowd. "What's this?" Sakura asked as she watched feathers start falling from nowhere, making her sleepy. "Genjutsu?" she asked right before breaking the illusion. "Genjutsu," Sasuke wondered as he also broke the illusion. "We are being invaded by the sound and sand," Kakashi explained as he fought against a couple of sound shinobi. "What?" Sakura yelled. "The sand is our ally," she stated. "They are no longer our allies. We knew about this invasion since the end of the second phase of the shooting exam, so we are prepared," Kakashi said, trying to ease the worries of fresh Genians. "Then why didn't we know?" Sasuke asked, getting pissed off by being kept in the dark. "We had to keep it a secret, so they didn't find out we knew," Kakashi said. Sakura was pretty much terrified from what was happening. She never had any real type of mission aside from a Wii mission that got bumped up into an A rank, so she was pretty fresh. Sakura was from a civilian family, and as such she wasn't prepared for the hardships of a shinobi life, and lived her life sheltered in Konoha. Sakura was about to ask another thing when they noticed Gaara explode in sand and showing his fully transformed Biju. Sakura never got so scared in her life and seeing such a colossal beast right in front of her. In that moment, she realized what people must have faced when the QB attacked 14 years ago. "Sensei, Gaara," Sakura tried to say, but her voice didn't reach her. She looked around and everyone from her graduation class was sleeping along with the civilians. Only Sakura, Hinata, and apparently Sasuke managed to dispel the Genjutsu. Sasuke is an arrogant kid, but he isn't without skill. "Don't worry, Sakura. I said we planned for this, and Naruto will take care of Gaara," Kakashi said. "You mean that dope knew while me and Uchiha Elite didn't?" Sasuke asked. "This isn't the time, Genin," Kakashi said in a serious voice. "Your mission is to help evacuate the civilians to the shelters. Wake up your classmates and separate into teams. Go!" Kakashi commanded, and Sakura immediately jumped to her feet while Sasuke was reluctant but nodded as well. "Hinata, team up with Zabuza and Haku and start sweeping and treating those who you can," Kakashi said, and she nodded. "Holy!" Kakashi all but yelled when he looked at the arena and saw a massive puff of smoke. But the surprising part was that the smoke wasn't coming from the Shukaku, but rather from Naruto himself, Kage Box. When Orochimaru gave the signal to start the invasion, the entire Kage Box erupted in smoke, blocking the sight of the Kages, and making the guards take defensive maneuvers to ensure the safety of their leaders. Every one of them jumped from the Kage Box into the nearby roof. What neither of them expected was for the Kazekage's guards to suddenly become 4 people, each one of them taking a corner of the roof. Each one of the guards was from the sound. All of them went through the same hand seals at the same time. They all shouted, "Ninja art, 4 flames formation," and a purple barrier like the one in the arena emerged and trapped the Kage inside. Inside the barrier was the Hokage, the Raikage, the Kazekage, and surprisingly there was also Jirai, who managed to follow his sensei to the roof and also got trapped inside. "What's the meaning of this?" the Raikage asked, not pleased with what was happening. Each of the Kage was keeping a secure distance from each other. "I'm sorry for not warning you, Lord Raikage, but I didn't know which side you would take." Hokage spoke and made the Raikage glare at him. "Explain," the Raikage almost shouted. "Let me make the honors, Raikage," the Kazekage said before removing his clothes and revealing a smirking Orochimaru. "Orochimaru?" the Raikage asked, not believing his eyes. How could Orochimaru be posing as the Kazekage and neither he nor his guards noticing it? I am, Orochimaru replied with a twisted smile. Now, Sensei, let the fun begin, Orochimaru said, licking his lips in anticipation. You fool, it's 3 against 1. You stand no chance, the Raikage replied, getting raised eyebrows from the Hokage and Jiraiya. Kumo and Konoha were never really on good terms since the Hyuga kidnapping. 3? The Hokage asked, hopefully. Yes, I will fight with you. Consider an apology for my father's mistakes, the Raikage said before gathering his voice and shouting, Kumo, we fight for Konoha. Yes, Darui, C, and Killer Bee yelled from outside the barrier before splitting and going to face the sound and sand head-on. I appreciate it, Lord Raikage, Hokage said. Perhaps there is hope to an alliance between the 2 most powerful hidden villages. Yes, now, let's skin a snake, Hokage said, smirking. Orochimaru never expected Kumo to join Konoha. That is why, even though the Raikage was present, Orochimaru still launched his invasion. Naive, Orochimaru said before going through hand seals. Orochimaru may be a lot of things, but one thing he wasn't was stupid. And as such, he was prepared for such odds. Tiger, snake, dog, dragon. Orochimaru went through the hand seals and clapped his hands. Kachu Yosei. Edo Tensei, Orochimaru said, and almost immediately 4 coffins sprouted from the ground. The coffin slowly opened and revealed 4 shinobi, seemingly dead, but in reality, they were just waiting for Orochimaru to activate them for the upcoming battle. Shit, Raikage, Hokage, and Jiraiya all thought at the same time, when they saw who was in each of the summoned coffins. Arena. Naruto watched in wonder at the sheer size of Shukaku. That's one big raccoon, Naruto said. Hayate, Naruto said, turning to him. Leave the arena, Naruto said, and he nodded, knowing full well that Naruto was responsible for taking him down, and having him there could disturb Naruto's fight. Kurama, juice me, Naruto thought to his partner. Okay, Kurama replied before sending chakra to Naruto. Almost instantly, a semi-transparent red cloak enveloped Naruto. His eyes turned blood red with a black vertical slit in the middle. His whisker marks became more pronounced and his fangs elongated. On Naruto's back, 9 chakra tails were swinging wildly as if they didn't have a mind of their own. Naruto placed his hands in a cross sign and said, Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu. And in an instant, nearly 2,000 clones popped into existence, consuming his cloak, each one of them with enough chakra to match a Jonin. They were Naruto's as far as the eye could see. Spread through the village. Your priority is to protect and evacuate the civilians. Provide assistance where you can, Naruto ordered. Yes, all the clones coursed before jumping away from the arena, leaving their creator to fight the Ichibi. Naruto placed his hands again in a cross sign and said, Enhanced Shadow Clone Jutsu, and a single clone poofed into existence. This clone was like the rest, however, he was reinforced, making him more durable than the others and capable of taking hits before dispelling. Join with Hinata and protect her, he said, and the clone nodded before using the Russian to teleport himself to Hinata. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said, and 4 Narutos poofed into existence. Kurama, I'll put up a barrier. Can you take control of the clones and hold it in place? Naruto asked. Keeping 2,000 Shadow Clones active, powering the edge-ring barrier, and still being able to fight a Biju required too much concentration that Naruto wasn't capable of yet. No problem, Kurama replied. In an instant, the 4 clones sprinted to the 4 corners of the arena. They went through hand seals at the same time and said, Ninja art, 4 flames formation, and a purple barrier erupted, trapping Shukaku and Naruto inside. However, before the whole barrier could close, 3 Sand Shinobi jumped over the forming barrier and landed inside. They were Temari, Kankuro, and their Jonin sensei, Baki. Damn, Naruto said as he watched the Sand Shinobi take place near Gaara. This has just gotten a lot more dangerous. No holding back, Naruto thought before permanently keeping his EMS activated. His hands tightly gripped his fan as he became battle ready to go up against a Jonin, 2 Genin, and a Biju. I'll have to take out Kankuro and Temari first, Naruto thought before releasing his grip on his fan and taking from his store seals a couple of 3-pronged kunai. Naruto watched as the Sand Shinobi jumped to the head of Shukaku, and yet he did nothing to remove them. Looks like Gaara is mostly in control, Naruto thought. He looked up to Shukaku's head and noticed Temari readying her fan and Kankuro unwrapping his bundle, revealing a puppet. Great, a puppet user. Just my luck, Naruto thought. His eyes didn't look so good. He cursed himself for not training his eyes further so he could use the techniques Kurama told him. You made me feel alive, Uzumaki, Shukaku yelled, but it was clearly Gaara's voice. crazy bastard, Naruto thought as he launched his three-pronged kunai towards the enemy, but was blocked by Baki's kunai. Baki looked at the kunai and was interested in the design as it was different from the others, until he remembered where he saw them. He remembered the legend that used these kunais to decimate an army. Are these, Baki wondered before he picked the kunai with his hands and noticed the kanji in the handle. Wrong move, Naruto said before flashing towards the kunai he previously thrown. All they saw was a yellow flash before Naruto appeared behind Baki and slammed her Sengun into his back, and he went flying, crashing on the ground, completely out. Naruto ducked under a fan swing from Temari and gave her a punch to the stomach, making her buckle in pain. Naruto punched Temari and jumped to the side to avoid a barrage of senbon thrown by Kankuro's puppet. Naruto quickly picked another kunai and threw it at Kankuro's real body. Kankuro fumbled between his weapons when he saw Naruto throw the same kunai he used to take out his sensei, who was a jonin. Kankuro did the only thing he thought and jumped away far enough from the kunai's reach. Naruto jumped from the EGB as sand was starting to gather around his feet, trying to snare him in place. He approached Baki. He is still alive, although barely. Naruto picked Baki up and quickly stored him in a stasis seal. What the hell was that? Kankuro asked, with fear clearly splashed in his voice. The blonde in front of them just took out their sensei like he was nothing. Idiot, don't you remember history from the academy? Temari asked as she recovered from the blow Naruto delivered her. Seeing Kankuro's oblivious face, Temari decided to explain. That technique, that yellow flash, is the same that the 4th Hokage used that gave him the name of Yellow Flash. He used a technique of his creation that allowed him to teleport to the kunais he threw and used it to kill almost 1,000 shinobi from evil in a flash. He alone won the war, Temari explained, and Kankuro turned to the blonde who was busy dodging the sand. I see you know history very well, a voice whispered just behind Temari's ear. She turned her head slightly and was greeted by none other than Naruto. Kankuro just had enough to blink. He was watching Naruto dodge the sand when suddenly he appeared right behind Temari. How? Temari asked, stuttering, clearly afraid of Naruto. He possessed a technique that allowed the 4th to kill an entire battalion of shinobi in an instant. When I punched you in the stomach, I left my mark on you, Naruto simply replied before giving her a quick chop in the back of her head, knocking her out. He quickly flashed to the ground with an unconscious Temari and sealed in a stasis scroll as well. You bastard, Kankuro growled from the top of the EGB before setting his puppet to attack Naruto. You should be grateful I didn't kill your sister, Naruto said in an emotionless voice. Kankuro simply gazed upon Naruto's blood-red eyes and was starting to feel sleepy. Release, Kankuro said and flared his chakra, breaking Naruto's hypnotic eye. Wind style. Vacuum wind bullet, Shukaku said before slamming his hand in his stomach and expelling a very large ball of compressed wind. The ball itself was bigger than Naruto himself. Naruto gripped his fan and, channeling chakra through it, he swatted the bullet away, making the ground shake from the pressure and power. Naruto jumped to the side to avoid Kankuro's puppet, and he noticed that the puppet's blade were filled with poison. I need to take him out so I could focus on Gaara, Naruto thought before he dashed towards Kankuro's puppet. Naruto used his Sharingan and quickly found the chakra strings Kankuro was using to control his puppet. Naruto channeled chakra through one of his kunai and used it to sever the strings, making the puppet fall limp to the ground. Naruto quickly appeared next to the fallen puppet and drove a Rasengan to it, shattering it to pieces. Bastard, Kankuro said to Naruto as he lost his best weapon. What can you do now? Naruto asked, pissing off Kankuro and making him jump from the EGB's head and run straight towards Naruto. Naruto smirked when he noticed how easy it was to rattle Kankuro. Kankuro quickly arrived near Naruto and tried a horizontal slash, only for Naruto to duck. Naruto quickly rose up and trapped his arm, disarming him of his kunai. Naruto grabbed him tightly by the arm and flinged him through the air, slamming him into the ground. Naruto quickly placed his hand into Kankuro and placed his sleeping seal. Once Kankuro was disabled, he sealed him as well inside a stasis scroll. Now that's done, it's only you, Naruto said, eyeing Shukaku. Die! Shukaku yelled as he fired a few more wind bullets that, in this case, were more like the size of people themselves. Naruto swiftly dodged them and watched as they collided with the barrier, but it didn't even waver. Good, the barrier is holding, even though it's powered by clones, Naruto thought. Naruto analyzed Shukaku and noticed he was very slow. He hadn't moved since he was released, so Naruto would take that as an advantage. Naruto took out a single shuriken. He placed it on his pointer finger on his right hand. Naruto molded wind chakra and slowly expelled it to the shuriken. Soon enough, the shuriken started spinning, and around it, the wind started spinning as well, creating a circular saw. Shuriken Wind Blade, Naruto said, and threw the shuriken. The shuriken went flying with impressive speed towards Shukaku, who remained in place as his mobility was inexistent. The shuriken arrived near Shukaku and swiftly and without much trouble, it cut right through his arm, severing it completely and making it fall to the ground. The arm fell limply to the ground and started crumbling away until it remained but nothing of sand in the ground. Although Shukaku just had his left arm severed, he didn't seem to be in any type of pain. "You entertain me, Uzumaki," Shukaku yelled, and the sand above Shukaku's head started moving and something could be seen popping out. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the figure emerging and saw that it was Gaara himself. Gaara placed his hands on the tiger seal and said, "Play possum jutsu," and promptly fell asleep. Gaara leaned forward and his body went completely limp. Just as Gaara fell asleep, Shukaku's eyes glowed yellow and stayed like that, showing that it was Shukaku who was now in control. "I'm free. I am going to kill you and then destroy everything," Shukaku yelled as he was happy to be free once again. He looked down and saw Naruto staring at him. Seeing Naruto, Shukaku immediately went into action, trying to crush the blonde and leave the barrier so he could have fun. "Wind style vacuum wind bullet," Shukaku said, and started expelling compressed wind bullets towards Naruto, who was forced to start evasive maneuvers. Naruto watched very carefully as they hit the barrier. He couldn't allow Shukaku to roam free through the village, or he would destroy it. "Fire style great dragon fire jutsu," Naruto said, and unleashed a big fire dragon towards Shukaku. Naruto swinged his fan and empowered the flames, making them wider and bigger. The flames were almost the size of Shukaku himself. Shukaku let out a roar and the flames were dispersed into nothing. Shukaku flexed his tail and tried to squash Naruto, but he jumped to the side to avoid it. The tail regressed back, but this time it stayed just above Shukaku's mouth. Suddenly, black and blue chakra could be seen floating in the air and gathering around Shukaku's mouth. The chakra started gathering and compressing itself in a ball just outside of Shukaku's mouth. "Is that what I think it is?" Naruto asked when he watched the ball of chakra form itself. Very much like Naruto used his Rasengan. "It's a Biju bomb, and I don't think your clone-powered barrier can withstand it," Kurama said. "Even though Shukaku is the weakest of the 9, a Biju bomb is still strong. Let's see if this weapon truly lives up to its name," Naruto said before gripping his fan tight. Shukaku stopped gathering chakra on the ball and suddenly fired it with tremendous speed. Naruto watched the purple ball coming towards him. Naruto grabbed his fan and placed it in front of him, his right hand grabbing the hilt with his left hand, grabbed the other end. The fan was acting like a shield in front of Naruto. "Reflection," Naruto said before the bomb hit the fan. The Biju bomb collided with the fan, and at first nothing happened, but suddenly the bomb exploded, but instead of blowing Naruto, it was completely reflected towards Shukaku. The amount of pressure being put on the fan made Naruto kneel on the ground beneath the crack, but he was able to withstand the bomb, and the force of the explosion was sent towards Shukaku. Naruto placed the fan on his back and cleaned a bit of sweat that was dripping from the side of his face. That went well, Naruto thought. "Now you believe what I said about the fan," Kurama said in a sarcastic voice. Yeah, now let's end this," Naruto replied, and watched as the smoke cleared, and revealed a fully scorched Shukaku with his right arm missing as well. Naruto concentrated and focused his chakra. Suddenly, right beneath Shukaku, golden chains erupted from the earth and pinned him on the ground. Shukaku was fully trapped. He had chains wrapped around his tail, mouth, and the majority of his body, making him unable to do a single movement. Rat, ox, dog, boar. Naruto went through the hand signs and clapped his hands together. He slammed his right hand on the ground and kanji started flowing out of it and going towards Shukaku and forming a ring around him. 5-point demonic suppression seal, Naruto said, and the kanji started glowing. Shukaku yelled in pain as his chakra was being forced back into the seal. All the shinobi stopped their fighting and looked at the arena where Shukaku was howling in pain. "You're not going anywhere," Naruto said. Naruto reinforced the chains as he could feel Shukaku trying to break them free and get away from the seal. Shukaku's form started to waver and the sand slowly started crumbling and flowing back into Gaara. A few seconds later, and there was nothing but a ball of sand floating in the air. The ball of sand was becoming smaller and smaller by the second when suddenly all the sand disappeared, and Gaara fell to the ground, completely unconscious. Naruto approached Gaara and saw his new seal on Gaara's neck. It formed a complete circle around Gaara's main seal. Naruto looked carefully at him and noticed a few irregularities. The main seal had no suppressive seals in it and no safe hatch. At this point, Gaara's seal is nothing more than an advanced storage seal. This is why Gaara is so unstable, Naruto thought before approaching him, and also placing him in a stasis scroll, putting him with his team. Naruto took a few deep breaths and dropped the barrier while shifting his eyes towards the roof where the Kage's battle was taking place with Hinata. Hinata had just received orders from Kakashi and went to join forces with Zabuza so they could bring the pain to the invading forces. Hinata quickly located Zabuza and Haku and jumped towards them. "We have orders, Zabuza," Hinata said as she watched Zabuza behead a sound shinobi with his executioner's blade. "Which are?" Zabuza asked. "We are to group up and start sweeping the streets while evacuating and providing protection to the civilians. When the civilians are evacuated, we are to launch a counterattack," Hinata explained. "Let's go then," Zabuza said as he placed his blade onto its back. They were about to leave when they saw a yellow flash. They narrowed their eyes and saw Naruto just arrive near them. "Naruto?" Hinata asked, surprised to see him. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm a reinforced clone. Boss sent me to team up with you all and provide protection to you all as well," Naruto explained, and they all nodded. They all withdrew their weapons. Naruto's clone pecked a couple of three-pronged kunai. Haku took out Senbon and Hinata pecked her daggers. They quickly left the arena and made their way towards the middle of the village, indicating the evacuation pass to the civilians. They were about to leave when a group of 10 sound shinobi jumped in front of them. Naruto quickly sensed their chakra levels and their ordinary chunins. "What do we have here?" the obvious sound leader asked. "A jonin and a couple of kids," he said while the rest of the crew laughed. Obviously, these sound shinobi weren't watching the chunin exams, or they'd have just seen what these kids could do. "It's time for the flash to resurface," Naruto said, and got confused looks from Zabuza and Haku. He smirked and threw one of his special kunai towards the enemy. They all laughed when the kunai didn't hit anyone and simply landed harmlessly on the ground in the middle of them. "Don't blink," Naruto said to his team and disappeared in a yellow flash. All Zabuza was able to see was a yellow flash. Naruto disappeared from view, and when Zabuza saw him once again, all the sound shinobi fell to the ground dead, their throats slashed. "That was," Zabuza said, but trailed off as he pieced together who Naruto really was. "You are the son of the Yellow Flash, aren't you?" Zabuza asked, but the answer seemed pretty obvious. "Yes, my father was Minato Namikaze, Konoha's Yellow Flash, and the 4th Hokage, and also Madara Uchiha's son," Naruto explained, and got disbelief looks from Zabuza and Haku, who their eyes widened. "I'm done trying to figure you out," Zabuza said, laughing. "Tell me, how long can you use that technique?" Zabuza asked. "It was a pain in the ass to create the seals. I can use it since I became a genin," Naruto explained. "Unbelievable," Zabuza said while shaking his head in disbelief. "Let's continue," Zabuza said, and they grouped together and dashed once again through the streets. "Hinata," Naruto said, turning to her, "use your Byakugan and see where we are needed. This section is cleared," Naruto explained, and Hinata nodded, "before activating your Byakugan without any seals." She gasped at what she saw. "The academy is under siege," she said, and got disbelief looks from Naruto. "The academy?" he asked incredulously. "What about the barrier?" he asked. "There is no barrier. There are sound and sand shinobi trying to force entry, but Iruka-sensei and a couple other chunins are holding them off," she explained. "Let's hurry then. I can't teleport all of you with the Hiraishin since I'm only a clone, and it'll take too long if we walk," Naruto said, and got confused looks from the rest of the team. If he couldn't transport them and they couldn't walk, what else were they going to do? "This might feel a bit uncomfortable," Naruto said before activating his Kamui and sucking Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata into it. He quickly disappeared as well, leaving no trace of either of them. Academy. At the academy, things weren't looking pretty. Iruka and the other teachers were trying to hold off the enemy until the shinobi could arrive, but they wouldn't last much longer. The chunin that was powering the barrier was tricked when a sand shinobi hinged into a Konoha shinobi and infiltrated the barrier, killing the one powering it. The students were all scared. The enemy managed to collapse the tunnels leading to the bunkers, and since the barrier was down, the only thing keeping them alive were the teachers that were battling fiercely to protect the lives of their students, by preventing the enemy from entering the academy. "Iruka, this doesn't look good," one of the teachers said. He was clearly tired. He was sweating from every place and was breathing very hard. Even though he wasn't fatally injured, he was filled with small cuts and bruises from their fight. "We can't do much. We must hold off until reinforcements arrive," Iruka said. Iruka was also running low on chakra. Even though he was quite skilled for a chunin, a couple of chunins couldn't fend off 15 sand chunins indefinitely. "Just give up. You can't win," the obvious team leader said as he watched the teachers breathing heavily. They already managed to kill a couple of teachers, but these two were proving rather difficult. They were managing to keep them at bay by launching long-range jutsus and weapons. "Iruka, behind you," the other teacher yelled. Looks like the exhaustion was finally catching up to them as a sand shooting managed to sneak up on Iruka. Iruka turned his head to see who was behind him when he noticed a kunai going for his throat. Iruka resigned to his fate as he couldn't do anything more to dodge. His chakra reserves were empty, and he was tired and running out of weapons. He had his eyes closed and was expecting the pain when he heard Raikiri. Iruka opened his eyes to see a hand enveloping in lightning piercing right through the sand shinobi's chest. The shinobi hit the ground dead. He didn't even scream. He was dead the moment Naruto pierced him. "Naruto?" Iruka said, stuttering. "Don't worry, Iruka-sensei. We'll take care of the rest," Naruto said before space seemed to bend and from his eyes popped the rest of his team. Zabuza, Haku, and Hinata. "What the hell was that, brat?" Zabuza asked, feeling a bit disorientated. "A space-time ninjutsu similar to my Hiraishin. Take care of them while I gather everyone inside the academy and put up a barrier," Naruto said, and the rest of his team dashed to the remaining 14 shinobis. In less than 5 minutes, every single one of them was dead. Between Hinata's gentle fist, Haku's senbon, and Zabuza's sword, no one stood a chance. "My god," Iruka said, stuttering as he watched Hinata fight and swoop the enemy as if they were nothing more than ants. Hinata seemed to be dancing and flowing through the attacks of the enemy. Her Byakugan allowed her to pinpoint and track each enemy. She only needed to touch the enemy once. She honored the traditional style named as the gentle fist. One simple touch and the enemy would fall to the ground, dead. Hinata had many to accomplish this. She could open the gate of death, making their heart explode. She could crack the chakra cord, destroying the chakra network, killing the enemy, or if she didn't have access to such places, she would use her Chukin with lightning and infusing it through the enemy's network, frying it and killing the enemy. She truly was a goddess of death. "Iruka-sensei, what happened at the barrier?" Naruto asked, breaking Iruka of his thoughts. "The barrier seals he created weren't supposed to come crashing very easily. It would require a powerful attack to destroy it. One sand shinobi hinged into a Konoha one and infiltrated the academy. He also managed to collapse the evacuation tunnels," Iruka explained. "I understand. It's very dangerous to evacuate some of these students through the middle of the street, so I'll put another barrier up," Naruto explained, and Iruka sighed in relief. It looked like his students were going to pull through. "Zabuza, hold them off while I replace the barrier," Naruto said, and he nodded before his team took defensive stances, watching for any hostile shinobi while Naruto was doing his work. Naruto noticed all the seal tags were destroyed, and he needed to create new ones. He quickly took out a few empty tags from his store seals and started writing seals. Iruka just watched in fascination at the speed and quality at which Naruto drew the seals. It obviously proved that Naruto was very skilled in Fuinjutsu. Naruto quickly finished the tags and Iruka examined them. Each kanji was perfectly drawn, not a speck of imperfection could be seen. It almost looked like a work of art. "Get inside," Naruto said, and Iruka went to collect to the other teacher what was unconscious but not severely hurt. Once inside, Naruto made a shadow clone and he made his way towards the outside of the academy. He slammed the tag on the wall and said, "4 corner barrier," and a yellowish barrier erupted, completely covering the academy grounds. Naruto's clone sat down in a lotus position and started concentrating to increase the power of the barrier. The reinforced clone on the outside of the barrier said, "Iruka-sensei, you are safe now. We will continue to look through the village." Naruto turned away to join up with his team and moved to another sector of the village when they saw a big explosion that rose into the skies. Explosion site minutes earlier. B was running through the streets trying his best to help out where he could. Darui and C teamed up with Amoy and Karin and went to grab Yugito at the infirmary. B quickly looked at the horizon and noticed a 3-headed snake breaking through the walls of Konoha and started to wreak havoc for the village. The shinobi were throwing jutsu after jutsu, but nothing seemed to work. "Push him out of the village," one of the shinobis yelled as they threw explosive kunai towards the snake. But that didn't even screech the snake as it continued on her path. They were quickly running out of options when they heard that it seemed to be someone rapping, and a lame one at that. "You're going down, fool, you fool, because I'm the mighty killer B," B rattled, running through and jumping through the roofs and heading to face the snake. "I'll take care of that worm," B said before fully transforming into his Biju. There, staying in the middle of Konoha, was the Hachibi. B quickly wrapped the snake with his tentacles and threw it at the air, so she couldn't do any more destruction. All of his 8 tails quickly bent over his head, ending just above his mouth. Black and blue chakra was seen gathering around it and compressing it to form a perfect square. Biju bomb, Bee said, and shot the ball towards the snake that was in the air. The moment the ball collided, it immediately exploded in a show of fire and smoke. Seconds later, as the smoke was starting to clear, there was nothing remaining of the snake. He didn't know if she was obliterated or just went back to her real form, but at this point it didn't matter. Konoha was safe now. Thanks for the help, B, a Konoha shinobi said before picking up an injured comrade and going to the hospital. Konoha's walls. One of Naruto's clones was running through the village, clearing shinobis and helping civilians where he could. Due to him being a standard clone, even with his combo, he was risky to engage in taijutsu, but he could always rely on ninjutsu, and he was really good at it. Push them back, Naruto heard a shinobi yelling and made his way towards him to provide as much help as he could. Even if he was a clone, at least he could be bait for slowing the enemy down. He arrived at the destination and saw a group of Konoha shinobi throwing jutsu and weapons trying to delay a group of about 200 sand shinobi, led by the Kazekage, into the village. However, the group just kept throwing wind jutsus, and having the Kazekage in there made sure they weren't harmed due to his gold sand dust. It wasn't looking good as the enemy kept coming. If help didn't arrive soon, it would be a massacre. Naruto arrived at their location and quickly surveyed the area, looking for anyone he might know. His eyes landed on Anko. Anko, what's happening? Naruto asked. She looked around to find the annoying blonde. Naruto, what are you doing here? Anko asked. Are you the only reinforcements that came? She asked, hoping that the only reinforcements that came weren't Naruto alone. I wasn't sent by anyone. I'm just a clone. The boss is taking care of Shukaku at the stadium, Naruto explained. And Anko stared at him dumbly before scowling. Just my luck. A fucking clone, Anko said. If you explain the situation, maybe I could help, Naruto said, flatly trying not to cause many problems, especially in the middle of an invasion. Very simple. The Kazekage is leading 200 shinobis into the village, and we aren't able to slow them down, Anko said, and stared at Naruto, waiting for his miraculous answer. I think I have just the jutsu for this, Naruto said, smirking, making Anko raise an eyebrow. But I'm just a clone, so it will take a couple of minutes to prepare. Can you hold them off until that? Naruto asked. I hope it's worth it, Anko said before yelling. Hold them off for a couple of minutes. Yes, ma'am, the shinobis that were with her yelled. They were very few in number compared to an overwhelming force of 200 trained shinobi. Naruto sat down in a lotus position and clapped his hands together as if praying. He slowly drove them apart a few inches from each other and sparks started flying between them. He continued concentrating, and after a few minutes the sparks gathered into a blue sphere that was shining. Okay, Anko, it's ready, Naruto said, and Anko turned around to see the jutsu. That's it? A small blue sphere? Anko said, not believing her eyes. So much work just for that. No faith, Naruto said, smirking, and launched the ball into the sky. The moment the ball hit the cloud level, it suddenly expanded in a bright flash of white. Everyone stopped and looked up to see what was happening. Just as the light died down, the clouds started gathering and the sky was getting darker and darker by the moment. Thunders could easily be heard, announcing from the clouds. Witness my best lightning jutsu, Naruto said, and everyone was focused on him. Naruto channeled lightning chakra to his hand, and it started sparkling. He sent a beam into the sky, and the thunders seemed to join and gather into a single massive one. The Kazekage was watching the skies very carefully, and when he noticed the dragon, he figured it wasn't going to be good for them. Take cover! The Kazekage yelled at his forces, but it was already too late. Lightning style. Kirin, Naruto said, and his dragon roared away towards the sand shinobi. The Kazekage tried to block with the sand, but it was far too slow. He didn't even have time to blink as the dragon disappeared in a flash and the ground where they stood exploded. Everything was ripped apart. Trees, stones, even the earth itself was destroyed. And where the mighty Kazekage and his army of 200 shinobi once stood, there was now nothing more than a 100-meter wide crater. Anko and the other shinobi didn't manage to see what exactly happened. All they saw was a flash of light and the ground exploding. The dust cleared and there was no one remaining alive. The ones that survived the initial explosion were simply electrocuted and left in ashes due to the power of the thunder. Holy shit, kid, Anko yelled, shaking his shoulders, and her eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. The reaction of the rest of the shinobis was pretty much the same. They were all busting their asses to keep the enemy away, and Naruto arrives, fires a very powerful lightning jutsu, and it's all over just like that. I told you to have faith, Naruto said, panting. Even though the jutsu didn't take that much chakra, the concentration necessary to use the jutsu was very high for a simple clone. "I'm dispelling now," Naruto said, and Anko nodded dumbly. "So what now?" one of the shinobis asked. "With the Kages. Edo Tensei, a forbidden technique that summons a soul from the pure world or the world of the living, in order to do the bidding of the summoner. Besides moral ramifications, this technique is considered forbidden because it costs a human life to anchor the soul to the world. This technique was invented by Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage, although the reasons to why he did are still unknown. The moment the 4 coffins opened, the shinobi inside were instantly recognized. They were all legends and powerful in their own way. In the first coffin was a tall man with tan skin, dark eyes, and a waist-length black hair typically styled in a center-parted fringe that framed his face. His attire took the form of the standard shinobi dress of his era, consisting of a dark red traditional armor, similar to that of a samurai, worn over a simple black suit. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular chest, shoulders, thighs, and forearms. Each collar of his shoulder guards bore the Senju symbol emblazoned on them. This man was none other than Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage himself, and the supposed god of shinobi. In the second coffin was a woman. She had long, bright red hair and large, pupilless eyes. She wore an elaborate, high-collared kimono with the Usushiogakure symbol on the back of the obi, which was tied around her waist. Her hair was arranged in buns with dark hairpins in them and 3 clips in the front. She also wore a dark shade of red lipstick and had a violet-colored diamond mark on her forehead. She also wore tags with kanji written on them in her hair decals. She also carried a huge red scroll on her back, similar to Jiraiya. She was Mito Uzumaki, Konoha's Red Princess, and the wife of Hashirama Senju. In the third coffin was a tall, fair-skinned man with white, shaggy hair, dark-colored eyes, and 3 red markings on his face, 1 under each of his eyes and 1 on his chin. In most cases, he wore the wartime attire armor emblazoned with a Senju symbol worn over a simple black suit, with a distinctive white fur collar. This armor was constructed from numerous blue metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body, in particular chest, waist, shoulders, and upper arms. This clothing was accompanied by sandals and a hapuri engraved with the Konoha emblem, in the place of the more traditional forehead protector. He was Tobirama Senju, Konoha's water dragon, and the second Hokage of Konoha. And the last coffin was another woman. She had a slender but feminine build, fair skin, blue eyes, crimson hair with strands that framed both sides of her. She was wearing the traditional black Anbu pants with white taper on the ankles. Around her chest she had an Anbu chest plate above a simple black suit. She had gloves on each arm that covered her entire arm, almost reaching her shoulders. On her back, a 28-inch long black katana with a red hilt. She was Kushina Uzumaki, Konoha's Red Death, wife of the 4th Hokage, and most importantly, mother of Naruto Uzumaki. "This isn't good," Hokage muttered under his breath, and the Raikage and Jiraiya couldn't help but agree. After all, standing in front of them were 4 Kage-level shinobi, not to mention Orochimaru himself, and the fact that being an Edo Tensei provides the shinobi with limitless chakra and immortality didn't help much. "Where am I?" Kushina asked as she surveyed her surroundings. The last thing she remembered was saying goodbye to her son. "Edo Tensei," Tobirama asked out loud, snapping Kushina from her thoughts. "That man brought us back with my forbidden technique. Ironic," Tobirama said. Edo Tensei, Kushina thought as she watched who she was going to fight against. It was a bulky man with blonde hair, so she assumed he was a Kumo ninja. Jiraiya and Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hiruzen seemed older than what she remembered, so it must have been some time. "Hiruzen," Kushina called out, getting his attention. "How long has it been?" she asked. 14 years, he replied solemnly. "How is Naruto doing?" she asked. She felt bad for leaving Naruto alone. Living was such a burden, but there wasn't any other choice at the time. Even though the civilians made his life a nightmare, he still turned out a splendid shinobi. "You would be proud of him," Hokage said with a smile. "He even found love," Hokage said. "That's good." Grandmother always said that to support the hate of being a Jinchuriki, I should fill myself with love, right? She asked, turning towards Mito Senju, who was quietly observing the redhead. Kushina? She asked, not believing her eyes. Her little girl grew so much since the last time she saw her. It was a shame she was already dead, and apparently she left a son behind. Good to see you again, Grandmother, she said, smiling. Ah, take that, Tobirama. My line continued on while you were always brooding around, Hashirama yelled, pointing towards his brother. Am you? Tobirama replied, crossing his arms. Orochimaru remained quiet while they were interacting and found it very interesting that Kushina called Mito her grandmother. Care to explain why you called Mito your grandmother, Kushina? Orochimaru asked. Why should I answer to you, pedophile? Kushina replied. Orochimaru got pissed and forced his control on the Edo Tensei, forcing her to answer all of his questions. My name is Kushina Senju. I am the daughter of Tsunade Senju and Don Kato, she replied in a monotone voice. If Orochimaru was surprised, he didn't show it, but he always thought that Tsunade's daughter had died. Tsunade only had one daughter. She died, Orochimaru replied. He was getting very interested. My death was fake to stop the CRA from taking place. With me dead and Tsunade leaving the village, we were both safe, Kushina replied, and Orochimaru smirked. Naruto was the perfect vessel. The strength of the Senju body with the power of the Sharingan. Delicious. He shall be mine, Orochimaru thought. It really was a bad decision on your part, Hashirama said to his brother regarding the CRA law that was created by the second Hokage. It was always for the betterment of the village, Tobirama replied. I don't doubt that, but you are too distant and cold. You are always brooding around like the Uchihas. You need a strong woman to straighten you up, Hashirama said, and Tobirama remained impassive. Maybe you should set him up with someone, Mito, Hashirama said, turning to his beloved wife, Mito Senju. She didn't age a day since he last saw her, and her beauty remained unparalleled to him at least. We are all dead, Hashirama, Mito replied with a deadpan expression. My bad, Hashirama replied, chuckling and scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. The Hokage, Raikage, and Jiraiya were all watching the interaction with fascination. It saddened the old Hokage's heart to see his former teachers and some of the greatest shinobi of the leaf brought back from the dead to serve under a despicable man. I should have killed him when I had the chance, the Hokage thought with shame. All the evil Orochimaru had brought could have been stopped if he had been strong back then. Enough talk. Kill them all, Orochimaru commanded, and they all took their stances. Hashirama and Tobirama crouched and took their taijutsu stance. Mito picked the scroll up and Kushina took out her sword. The Konoha defenders braced themselves for what was coming. How do you want to do this? The Hokage asked. 5 shinobi against 3 hardly seems fair to anyone. 5 against 3 doesn't add up very well, Jiraiya said. Don't count me in. I'll just watch for now, Orochimaru said, smirking. I'll take my former teachers. Jiraiya, you take Mito since she fights with seals, and Raikage will take Kushina. Lord Raikage, don't underestimate Kushina. She's almost as fast as you, the Hokage explained, and he rose an eyebrow. He knew that Kushina was a very powerful Kunoichi, but fast, he will have to see. Hokage's battle. Get ready, Hiruzen. We can't control our bodies, but we'll try and help as we go, Hashirama said. It's a shame to see you in this condition. As Hiruzen Sarutobi, 3rd Hokage of Konoha, I shall defeat you both, Hokage said as he removed his Hokage's robes, revealing the armor underneath. A fully body black suit with mesh armor underneath and steel plates on the arms. Hokage suddenly started running, heading towards Hiruzen. Hashirama arrived first and tried a spin kick, making Hiruzen crouch to avoid it. Hashirama continued his attacks with a few punches, but Hiruzen blocked them all. Hiruzen crouched and tried to sweep his legs, but making Hashirama jump up and back. As Hashirama was pushed back, Tobirama jumped into the fray. Tobirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and jumped over him. Tobirama quickly turned and threw a set of punches, trying to catch Hiruzen off guard. Tobirama jumped up and tried a drop kick that Hiruzen caught. Hiruzen spinned and threw Tobirama into the air. Even in his old age, Hiruzen was still considered the most powerful man in the village, and this was proof of it. Managing to hold your own against 2 Hokages at his old age was no easy feat. My turn now, Hiruzen said, and the Hokages braced themselves for his attack. Hiruzen went through a couple of hand seals and said, Fire style, fire dragon bullet, and sent a torrent of fire that engulfed the Hokages. The flames covered the Hokages completely, but they remained still. A benefit of the Edo Tensei is an immortal body. Hiruzen, seeing that this technique wasn't having effect, he poured more chakra into it, turning them into a white, hot flame. Tobirama, seeing the spike in Hiruzen's chakra, flashed through hand seals. Water style, water wall, Tobirama said, and started expelling water through his mouth. That formed a wall around both Hokages, canceling the fire attack. Water style, exploding water wave, Tobirama said, but instead of using his chakra to create the water like normal users, he simply gathered the moisture in the atmosphere and used it to power his attack. The water started swirling around him until he unleashed a massive tsunami heading towards Hiruzen. Earth style, earth wall, Hiruzen said before spitting out dirt from his mouth. The moment the dirt hit the floor, it sprouted into the air, forming a wall to shield him from the impending tsunami. As the water calmed down, Hiruzen went through another set of hand seals. Earth style, earth dragon bullet, and a dragon's head rose from the ground and started shooting multiple globs of earth towards the Hokages. Fire style, fire dragon bomb, Hiruzen said, and combined the earth bullets with fire, turning them into almost lava. The lava style bloodline allows the users to merge earth and fire chakra to create lava chakra and thus use lava attacks. However, anyone can combine the elements externally, however the power is significantly lower. Hokage started evasive maneuvers to evade the bullets as they were running towards Hiruzen. Hashirama quickly arrived near Hiruzen and both engaged in taijutsu battle. As the shinobi code dictates, use every advantage possible, and Hashirama said to do so. He dipped his feet in water and threw it into Hiruzen's eyes, blinding him momentarily. Hashirama took advantage of his blindness and unleashed a combo of punches and kicks trying to end Hiruzen permanently. They couldn't control themselves, so they couldn't stop from using low blows. Tobirama jumped into the fight as well. However, Hiruzen didn't go down as easily as they thought. Using the momentum at which he received the punches and kicks, he discreetly placed explosive attacks on both Hokages. He quickly regained his senses and broke the taijutsu fight by planting a feet into Hashirama's chest and sending him flying. Release, Hiruzen said with his right hand on the tiger seal, and both explosive tags detonated, blowing up Hashirama's leg and Tobirama's arm. Now this would have been enough to kill any shinobi, but the Edo Tensei allowed their body to regenerate. Hiruzen watched in amazement as the leg and arm that were destroyed reformed themselves as if nothing happened. Wood style, deep forest creation, Hashirama said, and trees started emerging from the ground, ripping through everything. The tiles, the earth wall, nothing stopped the onslaught of the trees. Hiruzen was forced to take evasive maneuvers, but in the end, the trees caught him and snared him by the ankles and arms. Hiruzen forced himself to move under his confinement and bit his thumb, drawing blood. He stretched and placed his hands near a branch of a tree. Summoning jutsu, Hiruzen said, and smoke erupted from where he placed his hand. As the smoke cleared, it showed a figure. His body and tail were covered by white fur, which protrudes from his sleeves and pants. He has long white hair that reached into his back and long sideburns and a goatee. He wore a black suit with mesh armor underneath, over which he wore a sleeveless kimono shirt with white fur trimmings and markings reminiscent of tiger stripes on it, which is held close by a sash. He was Enma, the Monkey King, and boss summon of the Monkey Clan. Orochimaru, I warned you, Enma said, watching Hiruzen trapped in the trees. Let's end him now, transform into the adamantine staff, Hiruzen said. Yes, Enma said, and jumped into a branch and said, transformation, adamantine staff. Enma was engulfed in smoke, and it was clear Enma was no longer a monkey, but a staff. A staff quickly crushed the trees and freed Hiruzen from his prison before resting in his hands as he took a defensive stance. Jiraiya versus Mito Senju. Jiraiya gulped as he watched Mito remove the scroll from her back. After all, Mito was an Uzumaki, and their sealing techniques weren't to be underestimated in the least. Mito Uzumaki did defeat the Kyuubi when Madara attacked at the Valley of the End and sealed him inside of her without dying. Mito Senju was one of the few combat sealers. As long as she had chakra, her possibilities in battle were endless, and since Jiraiya was a seal master himself, he knew very well the foe he was up against. I wonder if I should use Sage Mode, Jiraiya considered and thought. Jiraiya decided that he shouldn't allow Mito to do anything, and rushed her engaging in taijutsu. Mito, seeing Jiraiya running towards her, quickly placed a scroll on her back and took a defensive stance. Jiraiya arrived near her, and threw a set of punches that she easily blocked. Jiraiya tried to sweep her legs, making her jump. While in the air, Jiraiya tried to punch her, but she grabbed his arm, and supporting herself, she spun midair and delivered a spin kick to Jiraiya. Jiraiya stumbled back but quickly regained his position. He nursed his neck before going towards her once again. He quickly arrived near and threw a right hook. Her attention was focused on his right arm, opening her defenses for Jiraiya's left hand to slip through and hit her, sending her flying to the ground. She got up as if nothing had happened, and they both rushed each other once again. The moment they arrived near each other, Mito jumped over him. She placed her right hand on Jiraiya's back, applying a seal and jumping away from him. Jiraiya didn't know what had happened, and as such discarded the skirmish as unimportant until he saw Mito place her right hand in her tiger sign. Fuinjutsu, electric seal, activate, Mito said, and the seal on Jiraiya's back glowed, and started sending electric shocks through Jiraiya's body, making him buckle in pain, until he exploded in a poof of smoke. I figured the moment you touched me, you applied some seal, Jiraiya said, rising from the ground. Ninja art, hair needles, Jiraiya said, and his hair extended before starting to fire hundreds of hair needles towards Mito, who remained in place. Mito spread her hands from each other. From her sleeves emerged 2 tags, one for each hand. Barrier technique, shock absorption seal, and a golden barrier appeared in front of her, easily blocking all the senbons. The moment they hit the barrier, it didn't even waver or buckle from the pressure. Jiraiya, seeing his attacks being useless, stopped launching senbon and decided to try another approach. Fire style, giant fire blast, Jiraiya said before flashing through hand seals and sending a wall of fire towards Mito, who remained impassive to any attack Jiraiya threw. Mito took out sealing tags, however, these seemed slightly different. Barrier technique, chakra absorption seal, Mito said, and what seemed to be a black hole erupted between her arms and engulfed the fire attacks, leaving no trace of it. She can absorb chakra as well. Damn, Jiraiya muttered out loud. Mito really was a fearsome opponent. She managed to block a physical and chakra-powered attack with nothing more than ink and paper. Mito quickly opened her big scroll and turned it towards Jiraiya, who raised an eyebrow in confusion. Dragon Bomb, Mito said before a seal from the scroll started glowing. Suddenly from the seal, a massive torrent of fire shaped in the form of a dragon's head, erupting and heading towards Jiraiya, scorching everything in its path. Earth style, earth wall, Jiraiya said, and a wall of earth rose on the ground to shield Jiraiya from the incoming flames. That fire attack had a very large reach, and Jiraiya wouldn't be able to dodge in time. The flames connected with the wall, but it was strong enough to withstand the pressure. Can't believe I'm getting my ass kicked by someone who isn't even using ninjutsu, Jiraiya thought, shaking his head in shame. Earth style, underworld swamp, Jiraiya said, as the ground beneath Mito suddenly liquefied, making her fall into the swamp and burying half her body. The earth quickly hardened, trapping her. Jiraiya suddenly appeared above her and yelled, Rasengan, as he drove a blue chakra sphere right through Mito's chest, destroying everything around it, even the ground. Since Mito had her arms trapped in the swamp, she couldn't block or dodge the attack. Jiraiya jumped back and was watching the cloud of dust starting to settle. He narrowed his eyes as he watched Mito's chest starting to reform. A few seconds later, and as if nothing had ever happened, Jiraiya was so focused on watching Mito reform that he didn't notice 3 of Mito's shadow clones suddenly surrounded him, making a triangle around him. They all pulled a tag that seemed to float in the air. Sealing trap, chakra draining seal, all 3 clones shouted in unison, and a triangular red-colored barrier erupted, trapping Jiraiya inside, and started to drain his chakra. She's stealing my chakra, and fast, Jiraiya thought as he started to feel the chakra drainage. If he kept inside, he would be out of chakra in mere minutes. Jiraiya started to form a Rasengan, but noticed that it was being absorbed as well. He needed to create a larger Rasengan and use it quickly, so Mito didn't have time to absorb it. Giant Rasengan, Jiraiya said before making her Rasengan twice as big as the normal one. He quickly slammed her Rasengan on the ground, and the ground exploded upwards, breaking the barrier and the clone as well. Jiraiya cleaned a bit of sweat and jumped back to gain some distance from Mito. Raikage versus Kushina. Who are you? Kushina asked. Why do you want to know? The Raikage asked, generously surprised from that question. Even though I hold no love for Kuma, I wish to know the name of my opponent, Kushina explained. I'm the 4th Raikage, the Raikage said, and Kushina nodded. Shall we begin? Kushina said before gripping her sword and making the Raikage smirk. Perhaps this wouldn't be such a bad fight after all. They both dashed towards each other. Raikage had yet to activate his lightning armor, as he wanted to get a feel for Kushina's power, so he kept it at elite Jonin speeds. Elbow, the Raikage said, as he reached near Kushina. He flexed his elbow to hit her. Kushina swiftly ducked under him and brought the hilt of her sword upward, slamming it against the Raikage's chin and planting a kick to his chest, sending him flying. Dragon dive, Kushina said before flexing her blade and pointing it towards the Raikage. Kushina charged her body with chakra before exploding towards the Raikage at very high speeds, but the Raikage wasn't the fastest man alive for nothing and managed to deflect it, although barely. The Raikage, seeing Kushina so up close, charged at her and said, "Lariat," and tried to slam his right arm into Kushina's neck, destroying it. Kushina simply bent her body backwards and allowed the arm to pass above her without touching her. The moment the Raikage's arm had safely passed above Kushina, she quickly rose up once again. She jumped into the air, and using the Raikage's arm as leverage, she snared his head between her legs. She tilted down, placing her hand in the ground for leverage once again, and slammed the Raikage into the ground and jumped back to gain some distance. "Enough of this child's play," the Raikage said before his chakra spiked and his body was enveloped in a blue cloak that was sparkling with electricity everywhere. This was the Raikage's most powerful technique, the lightning armor, a technique that by channeling lightning chakra through the synapses in the external body, it improves the user's reaction time, overall speed, and defenses. Kushina, seeing her opponent using the fabled lightning armor, knew she needed something that allowed her to keep up with what will be his new speed. Her husband managed to avoid Abe's fastest strike by using his Arishin, but she didn't have that at her disposal. Kushina began focusing and channeling wind chakra through her external body. "Wind armor," Kushina said. By surrounding her body with wind chakra, she can cut down the wind resistance, increasing her overall speed. However, this technique doesn't protect her from anything like the Raikage's. The Raikage disappeared in a blink of an eye and appeared just above Kushina. "Guillotine drop," the Raikage said, and tried to perform a drop kick on Kushina. However, Kushina, due to her wind armor, managed to jump away and avoid the kick that shattered the ground. "Wind slash," Kushina said, and she reappeared in an instant when the Raikage destroyed the ground. Channeling wind chakra through a blade, she performed a horizontal swing. The Raikage just had enough time to tilt his head as the blade passed right above his head, cutting a few strands of hair. The Raikage quickly recovered and jumped away. As he landed, he noticed a few drops of blood fall to the ground. He placed his hand on his head and he looked at it. He noticed a bit of blood. "Even with my lightning armor, she managed to cut me," Raikage thought. It was bad luck in the end. The only thing that can beat lightning is wind. The Raikage was looking carefully at Kushina before she puffed into smoke. He looked around just in time to see Kushina appearing next to him, trying a horizontal slash across his chest. The Raikage, using his lightning reflexes, caught the blade with his bare hands and slammed a kick into Kushina's chest, and she was sent tumbling to the ground. The Raikage had enough of this. He had to end the battle fast so he could go and help the others' battles. He focused and brought his lightning armor to full power, making it sparkle even more, and his hair became more spikier. Kushina was looking at him when he suddenly disappeared. She didn't even have time to blink as Raikage reappeared right next to her. He grabbed her by the waist and said, "Liger bomb," and slammed her into the ground, completely tearing her apart and blowing up the ground into smithereens. The Raikage jumped and smirked in victory until he noticed that Kushina's body was reforming. A few seconds later, she was standing in front of her as if nothing had happened. "Damn that Edo Tensei," the Raikage thought as he was considering what he could do to end this despicable technique. Kushina walked forward and placed her hand on the ground, touching the Raikage's blood from one of his injuries that Kushina managed to inflict. Kushina spread the blood through her hands and flashed her hand seals before slamming both hands on the ground. "Fuinjutsu, gravity well," Kushina said, and kanji erupted from her hands. It spread through the area where they were fighting. In less than 2 seconds, the whole area was covered. The Raikage rose an eyebrow in confusion, but when he saw Kushina activate the seal, he almost fell to the ground. The gravity in the area was increased almost 5 times. "She's trying to slow me down. Smart," the Raikage thought. "Infinite blade," Kushina shouted before she disappeared from view. Suddenly the Raikage's skins burst in blood, revealing shallow cuts covering all of his body. The Raikage buckled in pain, but this sort of wound wouldn't slow him down. "Lightning straight," the Raikage said before dashing straight forwards towards Kushina with his fist cocked. The only person that ever dodged his attack was Kushina's husband, Minato Namikaze, but due to the gravity-filled area, the Raikage was slower, and Kushina easily dodged it, jumping to the side. "Enough of this," the Raikage roared before jumping high into the air and saying "drop kick," and slammed his feet onto the ground, vaporizing all the tiles around the impact, and completely disrupting the seal matrix, making Kushina drop the gravity field. They were about to jump at it once again when all of them heard a piercing scream from the middle of the arena. All of them stopped their battles and regrouped, shifting their attention to the arena floor, where Shukaku was yelling in pain as he was having his chakra suppressed. "This chakra, it's Shukaku, Tobirama said, as he was one of the most talented censors to ever live. No doubt, Hashirama said. Looks like Naruto came through, Jiraiya said, and the old Hokage nodded. What do you mean, Naruto came through? Kushina asked in a very sweet voice, making all the males gulp and take a step back. Did you put my son against a Biju? She asked, sweetly grasping her sword. Now, Kushina, he was the one that chose to face the Ichibi, the Hokage tried to reason with her. Besides, from the looks of it, looks like he won, the Hokage said. Jiraiya didn't say anything. He still remembered the beating he took when he tried to spy on her and Minato. Not even Orochimaru himself said anything, as he still remembered all the broken bones he had when he said that Kushina looked fat. He's approaching, Tobirama said, and they all noticed a figure arrive on the roof. Naruto jumped up and phased right through the barrier as if it wasn't even there. How the hell did that punk pass through the barrier? Toyuya yelled. How should I know? Sakon yelled. Hey old man, need a hand? Naruto asked before he analyzed the situation. He looked around and saw what Orochimaru had done, but his eyes were fixed on the red-haired woman. Mom, Naruto said in a low voice, but everyone heard him. Naruto, Kushina said, and ran toward her son, but Orochimaru forced his control over her, making her stop on her tracks, tears running from her eyes. You dare summon my family? You're going to pay, Orochimaru, Naruto said, and flared his Sharingan, making it slowly shift into his Mangekyo. His eternal displayed for the first time to the world without any genjutsu hiding it. Orochimaru was shocked when he noticed a shift in Naruto's eyes, and he felt something he hasn't felt in a long time. Fear. Is that? Hashirama asked, pointing towards the fan on Naruto's back. It's my grandfather's fan, Hashirama, old man. Naruto smirked, and Hashirama's and Tobirama's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Madara had a son? Hashirama said, not believing his ears. He didn't see that one coming. Yes, he did a very wonderful job killing him at the Valley of the End, Naruto said. What? Hashirama yelled. He survived? Hashirama asked, and Naruto nodded. Ironic, don't you think? Naruto asked, and Hashirama got confused. To think the descendants of you two would fall in love, Naruto said. Hashirama and Tobirama chuckled at the irony before they focused their attention on the blonde and noticed his eyes. A Mangekyo, Tobirama asked, and he sensed his chakra levels making his eyes widened. His chakra levels are through the roof and are on par with lower class Bijus. How in the world? Tobirama said, but Hashirama interrupted him. I sensed the Kyuubi's chakra in him. It looks like he's the new Jinchuriki, Hashirama said, and Tobirama nodded as it made sense. It's good to see that my legacy lives on, Hashirama said. Naruto, don't go in blindly. They can't be defeated by ordinary means, Hokage said. I know how the Edo Tensei works, old man, Naruto said, and Kushina smiled at the affectionate name he had for the third. At least he wasn't alone. How do you know it? It's a forbidden technique, Hokage asked suspiciously. Remember when I found Orochimaru's abandoned laboratory? Naruto asked, and Hokage nodded. In there I found blood samples as well as Orochimaru's notebook on the Edo Tensei, Naruto said. The reason I know how it works very well is because I can use it as well, Naruto said, and everyone's eyes widened at the statement. Naruto, Hokage said with a hard voice. I hope you didn't use it. I never sacrificed someone's life to bring back anyone, even if it was my family, Naruto said, and Hokage sighed in relief. There are 3 ways to defeat an Edo Tensei, Naruto said, getting their attention. 1, we can seal the soul away, thus disabling the Edo Tensei permanently. 2, we can vaporize the body completely, thus stopping it from reforming. Or 3rd, since I know the seals, we can force the summon to end the Edo Tensei himself, Naruto explained, and they frowned. Either way, it was going to be difficult. Pervy Sage, Naruto said, stop calling me that, Jiraiya, and the rest sweat dropped. How could they do this in the middle of a fight? Kushina just laughed as she had called him the same when she was alive. I can't use any genjutsu strong enough to force them to release the Edo Tensei, so do you know any sealing technique besides the Shiki Fujin? Naruto asked. Yes, but it'll take time to prepare, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded. We will hold them off until then, Naruto said, and everyone rose an eyebrow at the statement. Don't worry, Mom, I'm freeing you from Orochimaru's gasp. Shall we dance? Naruto asked, smirking and grasping the fan on his back. He always wanted to face against a powerful opponent, and it didn't get any more powerful than the Hokage's. Flashback, Valley of the End. Hashirama and Madara were facing each other, getting ready to start their duel. I'll say it one last time, Madara. Forget this path, Hashirama said as he looked at his long, old friend. There is no turning back, Hashirama. Now, shall we dance? End of flashback. Hashirama chuckled at the similarities between Naruto and Madara. It looked like Madara's blood was running strong through his veins, more strongly than Hashirama's own blood. "Old man, give me fire," Naruto said to the Hokage, and he nodded. "Fire style, fire dragon bullet," the Hokage said, expelling a torrent of white hot fire towards Orochimaru. "Fire style, great dragon fire jutsu," Naruto said before he also started to expel his own stream of fire. He quickly picked his fan and swinged, empowering the flames with wind. An inferno was unleashed towards Orochimaru, but they all remained in place. Tobirama clapped his hands together, and water started rotating around all of them before exploding towards incoming flames. A huge cloud of steam erupted, blinding everyone except Naruto, who, due to his Sharingan, managed to see the chakra of everyone. Taking advantage of the steam, Naruto quickly threw towards them the 10 last kunais he had with him in his Hiraishin seal. The cloud dispersed and everyone remained in the same, not moving an inch. Suddenly, Hashirama started going through hand seals and said, "Wood style, wood spikes." Suddenly a tree spread from the ground and started sending wooden spikes towards Naruto and company. Naruto channeled chakra to his fan and said, "Fan barrier technique." A semicircular purple barrier appeared mid-air, intersecting all of the wooden spikes, making them fall to the ground. They were all distracted on defending that they didn't notice Kushina blur right through them, heading towards Jiraiya. "Jiraiya, behind you," the Hokage yelled as Kushina appeared next to Jiraiya, trying to cleave his head off. The Raikage powered his lightning armor and dashed at the top of his speed towards Kushina. He wasn't going to arrive in time when they all saw a yellow flash appearing next to Jiraiya, and slamming a Rasengan into Kushina. "Pervy Sage, quick, seal her while she's reforming," Naruto yelled out, making Jiraiya hurry, and place one of his finished tags on Kushina's body. "You did well, Naruto. I'm sorry we left you all alone, but we loved you very much. I'm proud of you," Kushina said, as her Edo Tensei was starting to crack, indicating her soul was about to be released. "Thank you, Mom," Naruto said, sobbing. He usually never let his emotional guard down to anyone, other than those he trusted most, but this was an exception. Kushina was starting to fade away before Naruto approached her and whispered something to her ears, only bringing a smile to her face before fading away completely. "You're going down, Orochimaru," Naruto said, glaring at the snake. "That was," the Raikage started saying before everything fell into place. "You're Minato's brat, aren't you?" the Raikage asked rhetorically. "Yeah, I am, and by the way, Minato is Madara's son," Naruto said, and the first two Hokage widened their eyes. Who would have thought that Madara's son would have become a Hokage? "Enough of this. Kill them," Orochimaru ordered, and they all dashed towards the Leaf Defenders. "Jiraiya, how are the tags coming along?" "Hurry up, will you?" the Hokage asked. "Give me a break. They aren't easy to make," Jiraiya stated. "Here they come," the Raikage said before taking a defensive stance. "Let's end this," the Raikage said, trying to boost the morale. Naruto dashed towards Hashirama and engaged in taijutsu. Naruto had dropped the weights a long time ago, as he wanted to keep up with the Kages. "So this is the power of a Kage. I need to step up my training," Naruto said as he was being pushed back by Hashirama's raw power. Hashirama threw a right hook that connected with Naruto and left him slightly dazed. Naruto's combo reactivated just in time to see Orochimaru's extended neck phasing right through him. "What the hell, you pedophile? Are you trying to give me a hickey?" Naruto smugly asked, trying to piss him off. "You should rattle him up," Hokage said, chuckling at his surrogate grandson. "I have another ready," Jiraiya stated, and Naruto nodded. Naruto channeled as much chakra as he could into his body, and sent a kick towards Orochimaru and sent him flying. Naruto, using his combo, phased right through Hashirama and jumped back. Naruto crouched and concentrated. Golden chains emerged from the ground and snared Hashirama to the ground. The chains twisted around his ankles, snaring him to that spot. "Raikage!" Naruto yelled out before the Raikage abandoned his fight with Tobirama, and charging at full speed, he said, "Lariat!" The Raikage dashed towards Hashirama, who was pinned. At full speed, slamming his arm into him, destroying his chest completely. Jiraiya quickly appeared next to him and placed a ceiling tag on Hashirama, breaking him free. "The village is in good hands. I hope you meet again, Naruto, although not too soon," Hashirama said, smiling as his soul was released. "The village is in good hands." He could sense that Naruto had a pure heart, and that the will of fire burned brightly in him. "That's 2 down, Naruto said, panting. Even though Kurama could refill his chakra reserves at any time, and he had good stamina, this invasion was taking its toll on his body. He already had 2 matches, one against a Biju, he made 2,000 clones, and now he's fighting against Kages. "You're up now, old man," Naruto said towards the Hokage, panting. "If I don't make Chunin after this, I'm gonna burn all of your Ichi books," Naruto stated, and the Hokage paled. "Easy there," the Hokage said, waving his hands. During all of this, Orochimaru was gritting his teeth. Everything was going so well until that brat appeared. reappeared, and then his Edo Tensei started falling like flies. Now they were in an advantage as it was 4 against 3, and the worst part of it was that he can't afford to kill the brat. Orochimaru decided that this was enough and spat a word out of his mouth. It was the Kusanagi sword that it said to be indestructible, and again, so is Naruto's fan. Suddenly Naruto stiffened and brought his head down in shame. Hokage seemed confused and asked what happened. The Kazekage is dead, Naruto said, and Orochimaru's eyes widened. The Kazekage was supposed to invade the village with a small army and take it by surprise. What happened? Hokage asked. He was leading 200 shinobi towards us, so I launched my Kirin Jutsu and killed them all, Naruto said in a low voice. He had just killed over 200 people with a single jutsu. Even though he was defending his village, those shinobis were just following orders from their leader and Orochimaru himself. The Hokage's eyes widened as well as everyone else. To be able to kill so many shinobi with a single jutsu, it reminded him of his father, the Yellow Flash, who used his Raishin Jutsu to decimate almost 1,000 shinobi during the Third Great War. Placed such guilt on such a young man, Hokage thought. War never brought benefits to anyone, and this little invasion was proof of that. That must be one hell of a jutsu, the Hokage commented, slightly interested in it. The ability to instantly take out so many shinobi easily ranks the jutsu as an S rank. The next tag is ready, Jiraiya stated, and they got ready once again. I won't allow this anymore. Mito, use anything. Use your strongest seal. I don't care, just finish them, Orochimaru ordered, and Mito obeyed. Mito instantly started going through hand seals at very high speed, indicating that it was going to be one big sequence, and big sequences aren't usually that good. Jiraiya was watching carefully at the seal sequence when his eyes widened in realization. You can't allow her to finish that seal. Stop her now, Jiraiya yelled, but it was too late. Sealing trap. Obliteration, Mito said, and instantly kanji erupted from her hands and covered the entire roof where Jiraiya and the others were. The kanji suddenly started flowing through the air, trapping Jiraiya and the others in a sphere. Activate, Mito said, and the kanji sphere glowed before exploding with such a force that the entire building shook, but the explosion and flames didn't leave the sphere and remained there for a few seconds. The flames died down and kanji faded, dispersing the sphere. Orochimaru smirked when the smoke cleared as he saw nothing inside the sphere. He couldn't even sense them anymore, so that can only mean that he won. In the end, Konoha shall perish as well, Orochimaru said, laughing, and the Edo Tensei looked down in shame. Don't get cocky, boy, the Hokage said, and they all reappeared on the rooftop via Naruto's convoy. Naruto by this time was sitting on the ground, taking long breaths. How did you survive? Orochimaru asked, getting pissed. No matter what he did, they always managed to escape. You have Naruto to thank for, the Hokage said, looking at him. He transported us to his pocket dimension just before the explosion happened, the Hokage said, chuckling, and Orochimaru scowled. You really are one of a kind, Naruto, Orochimaru said, chuckling. Such a perfect vessel, he said. I don't swing that way, buddy, Naruto said, chuckling. I have both tags ready. Let's end this for good, Jiraiya said before everyone agreed. This battle had gone on long enough, and Naruto was almost completely exhausted. I'll make my final move, Naruto said before he disappeared in a flash. He appeared right behind Tobirama and slammed her Sengon in his back, sending him flying towards the Hokage, who caught him and immobilizing him, allowing Jiraiya to seal him. You did well, Saru, Tobirama said before disappearing. Thank you, Sensei, Hokage replied. You're next, Naruto whispered into Mito's ear as he flashed behind her as well. With Sengon, Naruto said, and slammed it against Mito, destroying her body completely. Jiraiya quickly approached her and placed the tag on her, releasing her as well. Now it's only Orochimaru, Hokage said. Konoha may have survived today, but it shall fall, Orochimaru said as he was getting ready to leave. You're not going anywhere, Naruto said as he flashed next to him and grabbed him by the arm. The moment Naruto caught Orochimaru, kanji started flowing out of Naruto's arm. Orochimaru, seeing this, immediately performed a Karuimi with a log, but the kanji did manage to cover his entire right arm. This is the end, Naruto said before placing his right hand on the tiger seal. Activate, Naruto said, and almost instantly the kanji glowed, in what seemed to be the worst pain Orochimaru ever felt. This one was even worse. Orochimaru screamed in pain until the seal started to fade off and disappeared from his arm. What did you do, brat? Orochimaru asked. His arm felt normal, however it was a bit numb from the pain. I destroyed the chakra network on your arm. You can no longer mold chakra with that arm. You lose, Naruto said, smirking. This won't be the end. Drop the barrier. We're leaving, Orochimaru ordered, and immediately the Sound Four dropped the barrier and ran towards their master. They grabbed him and they tried to jump away. You aren't going anywhere, Naruto said before he summoned his golden chains and tried to capture them, but one of the Sound Four launched what seemed to be his spider's web, giving them enough time to shrink away. Damn it, they got away, Naruto said, punching the ground. Don't worry, Naruto. We'll get him eventually, Hokage said. All of them were taking deep breaths as they overlooked the Konoha. It seemed that the village didn't take much damage, and Hokage was glad for it. Naruto suddenly clutched his head in pain. Old man, the invasion is over, and my claims are spilling, so I'll be fainting now. See you tomorrow, Naruto said as his eyes rolled behind his head, and he fell to the ground, only to have the Hokage grabbing him. Rest now, Naruto. You did much more than I ever could hope for, Hokage said as he picked Naruto up and secured him on his back. That's some kid, Hokage said. Yes he is, Jiraiya said, proud of the shinobi his godson has become.